Welcome, everyone, to a deep dive into a phenomenon that's really taken the world by storm. Pilates. You see it everywhere, from, high-tech studios in bustling Seoul to specialized rehab centers across Germany. This method is just everywhere. We've pulled together quite a stack of sources to explore its truly global reach, its surprising cultural variations, and this is crucial, what it really takes to thrive in this dynamic field.
It's pretty remarkable, isn't it? Pilates has definitely moved far beyond being just a niche practice. What's really fascinating here, I think, is the sheer scale. Our sources point to over 200,000 studios and structures worldwide. And get this, an estimated 35 to 40 million regular practitioners. It's truly a global force now.
Wow, 35 to 40 million. That's an astonishing reach. And like you said, it's not just in those traditional studios anymore. We're seeing it taught in hospitals, PT centers, fitness clubs, and increasingly online too. So this deep dive should really peel back the layers on this booming industry, give you a clear picture of where it is now and maybe where it's heading.
Okay, so we've established Pilates is, well, everywhere. But digging into our sources, I'm curious, are there specific hotspots where it's truly exploding right now, beyond the, let's say, usual suspects like the US or Australia?
Yeah, that's a great question. Historically, yes, the United States, Australia, Canada, they were definitely sort of the pioneers. But what's really interesting today, the strongest growth, we're actually seeing it in Asia. Think China and South Korea specifically, and
Yeah.
also the Middle East and Latin America. Big growth there too. That growth in Asia and the Middle East is really intriguing. The sources seem to point towards the rise of the urban middle class and, of course, social media. That seems to be a huge driver. But isn't social media also maybe contributing to some of those, let's call them highly marketed or aesthetic goal types of Pilates, maybe moving away from the core principles?
That's a really great point. It's definitely a bit of a double-edged sword, you know. On one hand, yes, you have this growing health-conscious urban middle class demanding it, but then social media, especially things like Instagram, has undeniably popularized the image of the reformer machine, made it look very aspirational. The downside is this visual focus can sometimes overshadow the deeper principles, the original method. So you end up with practices prioritizing maybe appearance over that genuine body awareness.
Yeah, I can see that. It makes me wonder then, with all this global expansion and these cultural influences, does that mean Pilates is just a carbon copy wherever you go?
Hmm.
Or are there these really surprising regional variations? I'm betting on variations.
You're absolutely right to bet on that, spot on. While Pilates is, universal in its core principles, how it spreads and how it's practiced, that's incredibly cultural. Take Germany or Switzerland, for instance. There, it's still heavily centered on rehabilitation, often linked directly with health insurance, physiotherapists. Very much a therapeutic focus.
Yeah.
Now, compare that to South Korea. You see this exponential growth in sleek, really high-tech studios offering super individualized coaching.
Right. So totally different vibes. And this course has also mentioned the U.S. Integrating it into more dynamic fitness, which sounds a little different again. And you mentioned the Middle East, South America too. What are the implications of all this diversity? It's quite a spectrum.
Exactly. In the US, yeah, it often gets blended into these more dynamic fitness formats, sometimes pretty far removed from Joseph Pilates' original ideas. The Middle East, often developed within very luxurious settings, spas, high-end lifestyle connections. And South America sees a lot of practice at home, driven by significant access to online training. So yeah, it leads to this real diversity. Some practices are very faithful to the legacy precision control. Others are, let's say, highly marketed, maybe focused on quicker aesthetic results.
It really is fascinating how culturally diverse Pilates has become, from that high-tech Korean studio to German rehab. So given all those variations we just talked about, what are the universal things? What keeps people coming back everywhere? What's this sort of secret sauce that works across all these different cultural takes?
That really is the core question, isn't it? And our sources seem to point to six key strengths that explain that universal appeal. For me, what really stands out first is its universality. It's genuinely accessible to pretty much everyone. Regardless of age, fitness level, or what your goal is, it's really designed to meet you where you are, whether that's recovery or, athletic enhancement.
Yeah, that's so compelling, especially when so much fitness feels super specialized. And linked to that, the holistic approach often gets mentioned. It's more than just physical exercise, isn't it? Can you unpack that mind-body connection a bit more?
Absolutely. That holistic piece is fundamental. It powerfully connects the body and mind. You're actively working on breathing, posture, coordination. It's not just about building muscle. It's fostering this deeper awareness of your own body.
Ah.
And this leads directly to lasting effects. That's another key pillar. People often report, improved quality of life, relief from chronic pain, much better body stability over time. Plus, it's incredibly adaptable. You can do it on the floor, that's mat work, or use specialized machines like the Reformer, the Cadillac. You can do private sessions, group classes, online, in a studio. Lots of ways to engage.
So definitely not one size fits all, but it can be for everyone.
Oh,
Okay, and what about the scientificity aspect? Does the research actually back up these claims?
yes, it does. There are numerous studies validating the positive effects, particularly in rehab, posture correction, and enhancing that body awareness piece. It's not just people saying it feels good, the science is there. And finally, there's a strong element of fidelity. It's a practice that's gentle, yes, but also demanding. It kind of naturally fosters this desire for continuous, long-term progress. It encourages a journey, not just a quick fix.
That list of strengths really paints a picture of its versatility. But okay, with all that appeal, why do some people still find it maybe inaccessible or even intimidating? What's the flip side here?
That's a crucial point to bring up. Despite all those strengths, there are definitely challenges in the Pilates market. One that immediately jumps out from the sources is the high cost. Let's be honest. The specialized equipment, those reformers, Cadillacs, barrels, it's not cheap. And rigorous instructor training is also expensive. This can really limit access in many countries, making it feel, well, exclusive.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Is it mainly the cost of the gear, or is the training itself a major hurdle for people wanting to teach?
It's both, really. But tied into that is the sheer confusion over labels. There's just a bewildering array of certifications out there. You've got comprehensive, long programs taking months. Then you have these express courses over maybe 2 weekends, and all sorts of hybrid methods. It leaves students and even people wanting to become instructors feeling pretty lost about what actually means quality, what's reputable.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine how overwhelming that would be if you're just starting out. And what about how Pilates is perceived? I know I've heard it sometimes struggles with a bit of a stereotyped image.
It definitely does in some places. In certain regions, it's still seen as mainly for women or quite exclusive, maybe for a certain class, and that really hinders its expansion to men or younger people or even seniors who could benefit hugely. Then there's the issue of standardization. With the rise of big franchise studios or large fitness chains, well, sometimes you can get a very uniform cookie-cutter experience, and that can come at the expense of genuine pedagogical intent, the real art of teaching and adapting to the individual.
Ah, so it risks losing that personalized, attentive touch for the sake of maybe efficiency or scale. Okay, and finally, what about that explosion of online content we mentioned earlier? What's the challenge there?
Right, the last point is unsupervised digitization. Look, the boom in online courses has definitely democratized access, made it more available. That's great. But this often comes at the cost of quality control and proper guidance. It's just really hard to get those subtle, essential corrections when you're just following a video. You need that experienced eye sometimes.
It really sounds like finding the right path, whether you're looking to practice or maybe even teach, can be genuinely overwhelming. Which leads us to a really important question. For someone thinking about becoming an instructor or maybe opening a studio, what are the strategic keys to success in this pretty complex landscape? How do you navigate all these challenges we've just laid out?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the sort of blueprint for success comes in. Our sources highlight 6 crucial strategic points. The first one, and you could argue it's the most important, is serious training. Full stop. Success really has to start with demanding high-quality training. It needs to be validated by a clear curriculum. That means anatomy, biomechanics, understanding how the body actually moves pedagogy, which is the art of teaching and learning variations. It's so vital to avoid those super quick, superficial formations. A complete multi-month certification, ideally with a final assessment, that's a crucial investment, non-negotiable, really.
Okay, so depth and rigor right from the start, not just a quick piece of paper. It makes sense. And once you have that solid foundation, what's next?
Next up is know your local market. You absolutely have to study your potential students. What are their expectations? What language do they use? Not just literally, but how do they talk about health and fitness? Do they already do Pilates? Or something else. For example, clients in, say, the Gulf countries might genuinely be looking for those premium luxury sessions we talked about, whereas someone in Northern Europe might respond better to a health-focused message, maybe rehab-oriented. Your communication has to be aligned with their needs and mindset.
That's such practical, grounded advice. It's not just about knowing Pilates, it's about knowing the people you want to teach. And then there's the actual teaching itself. The sources really emphasize be pedagogical, not demonstrative. What does that mean in practice? How does that look?
Ah, this is where the real craft comes in. Pilates isn't about performing elegant choreography for Instagram that can be quite misleading, actually. It's about knowing how to effectively correct someone's pelvic alignment, sensing subtle things like their lateral thoracic breathing, that sideways breath into the ribs. It's about truly guiding a deep internal movement safely and effectively. The instructors who really last, who build that loyal client base, they're the ones who observe carefully, explain clearly, and adapt to the person in front of them. They are educators, first and foremost, not performers.
So it's much less about how perfect the instructor looks and much more about their ability to see and guide your movement. That's a critical distinction.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the training, you understand the market, you know how to teach. How do you present all that to potential clients?
Right. You need to build a clear and readable offer. Structure is key here. As a professional, you need a well-defined offering. What types of sessions? What levels? What are the specific objectives? And clear pricing. Honestly, 3 clear, well-explained packages or formulas are almost always better than some confusing grid with too many options. A lot of studios now are integrating hybrid formats, in-studio classes, plus personalized follow-ups, maybe an online platform with replays, which is great. But that diversity needs to stay coherent and easy for people to understand.
Keep it simple, keep it transparent.
Got it.
And on that note of communication, how do you promote this clear offer without falling into those hollow trends or just becoming another flashy fitness account?
Exactly. The advice here is care for your communication without yielding to hollow trends. Your brand image, how you present yourself, it has to genuinely reflect the depth and quality of your work. This doesn't automatically mean luxury. It means expressing a coherent identity that feels pedagogical, accessible, professional, and grounded. Talk about breathing, talk about alignment, talk about long-term progress and well-being. That's what sustainable, serious students are actually looking for. You want to create a discourse, a conversation that inspires genuine confidence, not just clicks.
Authenticity over superficiality. That seems key. And the final point in this blueprint feels like it ties everything together nicely.
It really does. The last strategic point is essentially cultivate loyalty, not immediate performance. The human relationship is just so central in Pilates. Student loyalty is built on trust, consistent support, and really attentive listening. What truly makes the difference in the long run isn't necessarily some spectacular, flashy exercise. It's the accurate observation from the teacher, the appropriately adapted correction, the encouraging or reassuring word at the right moment. In our super fast-paced world, this kind of pedagogical slowness, this commitment to gradual, thoughtful progress, it's actually a precious luxury. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, maybe for those thinking about teaching internationally or setting up shop abroad, the core advice is really think global, yes, but act local. Always. Take the time to really understand the cultural customs, the local expectations, even the logistical constraints. Adapt your teaching style and your offerings, but without ever betraying your core principles of quality and integrity. And maybe most importantly, create a coherent space. That means the physical place, the way you talk about it, and the practice itself all feel aligned and true to you. Sincerity and rigor, honestly, they make all the difference.
Wow. We've really covered a lot of ground here, taking a deep dive into this fascinating world of Pilates, from its surprising global spread and those cultural variations, right through to some really practical, strategic insights for anyone involved or wanting to get involved. It's definitely clear this is far more than just another workout trend, isn't it?
Precisely. So the question we started with, is Pilates an opportunity or is it a saturated market? I think the answer is unequivocally. It's an opportunity, a huge one. But only if one avoids the easy, superficial path. Pilates is demanding. It's subtle. It's incredibly powerful when taught well. It requires time. It requires deep listening, both from the student to their body and from the instructor to the student. And it requires real intention.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, our listener, whether you're maybe considering trying Pilates for the first time or perhaps deepening your own practice or even dreaming of teaching it someday?
I think it means that Pilates taps into something really profound, a lasting human need. This desire to rediscover an aligned body, find a calm breath, and experience conscious, controlled movement again. And for those professionals who are able to build their practice around those core values, sincerity, rigor, genuine pedagogy, for them, the future in this field truly does remain luminous. There's real potential there.